Guys, welcome back to Lab Cyber, and today's video is going to be a continuation of the series here on the channel where I discuss a particular career within cybersecurity. I tell you exactly what that career is, the job, what the job entails, the job prospects, salary, the kinds of skills and certifications that you will need for such a career. And I've actually discussed one career already. That's the career of a bug hunter. That was the first video in this series. I'll have the link somewhere in this video for you if you're interested in watching that particular video. But today's video is going to focus on a more popular career path, and that's going to be the career of a SOC analyst, SOC. I'm going to discuss exactly what SOC analysts do, the kinds of skills and certifications that you'll need if you're interested in becoming a SOC analyst, and I'll also discuss job prospects and salaries as well. So, SOC analyst, who is a SOC analyst? Now, SOC, SOC, basically stands for Security Operations Center. Now, to give you the very professional definition of who a SOC analyst is, they're basically a cybersecurity professional who works as part of a team to monitor and fight threats to an organization's IT infrastructure and to assess security systems and measures for weaknesses and possible improvements. To give you the very simple definition, they are the first responders to any kind of cyber attack. So think of it this way, right? Whenever a company suffers a cyber attack or they're in the middle of suffering a cyber attack, the SOC analysts will typically be the first responders. They'll be the ones that'll be the first to respond to such an attack, and they'll do their very best to mitigate such an attack. Now, this particular career path is very, very interesting because you actually have both entry-level positions, but you also have very advanced senior-level positions as well. To break it down further for you, you have three main tiers of SOC analysts. You have your tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Now, tier 1, as you might have imagined, is basically the entry-level position. Now, what they do basically is that they specialize in configuring, monitoring, and managing security tools, and they also review incidents to assess their urgency and possibly escalate if necessary. So, if you're going to become a SOC analyst, this is probably going to be where you start from, tier 1. Now, I need to mention something very, very important about this particular level. Being a tier 1 SOC analyst, this is quite possibly the most boring job in all of cybersecurity. And I want to be realistic with you. The reason why I say this is because the vast majority of times, what you're going to do basically is you're going to stare at a screen and you're going to review logs from firewalls or intrusion detection systems and so on. The reason why this can become very, very boring is because many times these security tools and systems, they provide false positives, basically alerts that are not actually real. They are fake alerts. So your job as a SOC analyst many of the times will be for you to go through these alerts and make sure that they are actually false positives. The problem with this is that not only is it boring, but SOC analysts in this particular position tend to become complacent. They become tired. When you deal with false positives every single time, there is a possibility that you might just stop investigating these alerts and making sure that they're actually false positives. The issue right now is that there might be a situation where you have an alert, but because you're so used to false positives, you think, oh, this is just going to be another false positive. You ignore that alert, but that alert might actually be tied to a real attack. These happen so many times. So many companies have suffered cyber attacks because of things like this. The security systems actually notified the SOC analysts that, hey, this might be a potential attack. But because the analysts, they're so used to dealing with false positives, they just ignore the alert and say, it's just another false positive. Let's move on to something else. And that's exactly how many cyber attacks occur. So bear this in mind, okay? If you want to become a SOC analyst, you're likely going to start from tier 1, and most of your job will just be to review logs from security systems. And then if an attack does occur, you escalate to the tier 2. The good news though about being a tier 1 SOC analyst is that it's entry-level position. You're not going to be there for a long time. You would obviously graduates to a more advanced role. Now, speaking of the more advanced role, that will now be tier 2. Now, these are basically the actual incident responders to escalated attacks. So if there's any kind of attack that a tier 1 SOC analyst cannot handle, they will escalate to tier 2. So tier 2 SOC analysts will now come in and make sure that the attack has been mitigated. So tier 2, they're basically the direct supervisors, the direct seniors of the tier 1 SOC analysts. But then you also have your tier 3 SOC analysts. Now these are the guys who are what you call the threat hunters, working proactively to seek out weaknesses and stealthy attackers through pen testers and vulnerability assessments. So their job as a tier 3 SOC analyst isn't to respond to a direct cyber attack. That's the job of a tier 2. Tier 3, think of them as like pen testers, ethical hackers. They actually proactively look for vulnerabilities within the security network and make sure that such vulnerabilities are never exploited. Now, technically, the tier 3 SOC analyst is the superior of the tier 2, but in reality, in the real workplace, tier 2 will never consider a tier 3 to be the direct seniors or the direct supervisors because they work differently. Tier 2 respond to cyber attacks. Tier 3 work proactively to make sure that there are no vulnerabilities within the network system. So it's two different kinds of roles, if you will. But it's not just about the tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3. You also have two more advanced, more senior roles than that of a tier 2 or tier 3. We have what we call the SOC engineers. Now, these are the guys who would actually build and maintain the systems that the analysts actually use. But you also now have the SOC managers. These are the people at the very, very top. They basically oversee everything SOC related. So if you're interested in becoming a SOC analyst, you're probably going to start from tier 1, move either to tier 2 or tier 3, and then possibly become a SOC engineer, and then finally become a SOC manager. That's of course if you're interested in management. Now, in terms of actual skills that are required to become a SOC analyst, you basically need to know something about everything within cybersecurity. Now, I've pulled up this particular link from csecurity.org. It's an interview with a real-life SOC analyst. The title is A Day in the Life of a SOC Analyst. Her name is Molly Weber. And basically in here, she says that the job requires great attention to detail and a general awareness of all things cyber. We look at IDS alerts, suspicious emails, network logs, and any other resource that provides insight into an entity's network activity. Analysts are expected to be able to read, understand, and notify on cyber trends. It is critical that we have basic knowledge in areas like networking, malware analysis, incident response, and cyber etiquette. So basically, to become a SOC analyst, you need a very wide variety of different types of skills. But to be more specific, if you're asked, okay, what specific skills should a SOC analyst actually have? Well, you need to be able to work with intrusion detection systems as well as SIEM software, SIEM, which basically stands for the Security Information and Event Management. One of the best examples of such software would be Splunk. If you're going to learn any kind of SIEM software, I would highly recommend you go with Splunk because it's quite easy to learn and it's also used in many companies. Other specific skills would include things like your sysadmin skills for Windows, Mac, or Linux. And I would also highly recommend that you learn about vulnerability assessment and management. If you do intend to become a level 2 or possibly even a level 3 or tier 3 SOC analyst, then you're going to need pen testing skills. Obviously, in terms of certifications, there's quite a few of them I can highly recommend. The first will be the Comtest Security Plus. Obviously, this is the gold standard of all entry-level cybersecurity certifications. The training and the knowledge required, it will give you kind of like a good understanding of all areas within cybersecurity. But then we also have the Certified Ethical Hacker as well. This will be, of course, for tier 2, tier 3 levels. And then we also have the Cisco CyberOps Associate certification as well. Honestly, I don't know too much about this particular certification, but it's Cisco. Any Cisco certification is worth looking into, and I would highly recommend that you check it out as well. But we also have the Certified SOC Analyst, quite possibly the very best certification that is specific to SOC analysts. So I highly recommend you check out these certifications. Now, in terms of salary prospects, how much you can expect to earn as a SOC analyst, I found this article for you from cybersecurityjobs.com, where they claim that the US national average for a SOC analyst is roughly about $97,000 per year, with the hourly average of about $47 US. But of course, this will depend on your levels of experience, whether you're a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, or maybe even a SOC manager. So right down here, they have the earnings by experience level. And they say that SOC analysts with about 1 to 3 years of experience can earn about $60,000 per year. So entry level tier 1 positions. And then those with like 4 to 5 years of experience can earn up to $94,000 per year. But regardless whether it's a tier 1, tier 2, or whatever, being a SOC analyst can be very, very interesting. Can be boring from a tier 1 perspective. But the good news and possibly the best thing about being a SOC analyst is that you're exposed to so many areas of cybersecurity that if you want to now specialize in a different kind of field, the fact that you've been a SOC analyst will give you an advantage because you will have learned something about that particular new area within cybersecurity that you want to specialize in. So that's it for today's video where I have discussed how to become a SOC analyst. Oh, actually, before I go, I almost forgot. In terms of like interview questions, maybe you wanted to go for an interview to become a SOC analyst, what kinds of questions might you be asked? I've actually found for you this article from Cybrary, SOC Analyst Interview Preparation. Basically, it's an article that will explain to you the kinds of questions you can expect and also quite possibly how to prepare for such questions. I'll have the link for you in the description box below if you're interested in learning more about becoming a SOC analyst. So that's it for today's video on how to become a SOC analyst. If you have any questions or comments, if there's any particular kind of career path that you want me to cover next, do let me know. Just put your comments down in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them as soon as I can. My name is Alex. If you enjoyed today's video, do give it a thumbs up. Share the video with anyone who you feel might benefit from it. And of course, if you're new here to the channel, please do subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified whenever I upload a new tutorial. Stay safe out there and I'll talk to you next time. Cheers.